Self-Esteem and Confidence, How to Love Yourself and Reach Your Potential. Introduction: Why Self-Esteem Matters. Self-esteem is how we evaluate ourselves, our abilities, and our worth. It impacts every aspect of our lives: work, relationships, health, and mental well-being. Imagine two people. One is confident, easily negotiates, and makes friends. The other is constantly doubting, afraid of making mistakes, and avoids new challenges. The difference isn't just in talent, it often stems from self-esteem. Confidence isn't arrogance or a sense of superiority, but rather faith in one's ability to act and overcome challenges. The history and origins of the concept of self-esteem. The idea of self-esteem didn't just emerge yesterday. Back in the 19th century, psychologist William James divided the I into two parts. I is who we are, our consciousness, our personal I. Me is how we perceive and evaluate ourselves. He stated something simple: our happiness depends on the gap between the real I and the ideal I. In other words, if you constantly think, I should be better, it directly affects your self-esteem. Later, Carl Rogers, one of the leading psychologists of the 20th century, introduced the concept of self-worth. He said that every person wants to develop and realize their potential, but low self-esteem hinders this. Modern research confirms that our self-esteem is formed through experience, upbringing, and internal dialogue. And the best part is, it's a skill that can be developed. A real-life example: I knew a girl who considered herself worthless because her parents constantly criticized her for her grades in school. As she began to acknowledge these thoughts and work with them, confidence gradually came, and she was able to successfully launch her small business. Types of self-esteem. Psychologists distinguish several types of self-esteem, each with its own consequences. High, healthy self-esteem. A person feels confident, acknowledges mistakes, but calmly corrects them. Example: a manager at work calmly says, "I made a mistake, let's fix it." They don't lose face because their opinion is valuable, not because they fear being judged. Inflated self-esteem. A person appears confident but often avoids criticism and doesn't admit mistakes. Example: a colleague always says, "I'm the best at this," but when their work is reviewed, they become defensive and ignore advice. Low self-esteem. Constant doubts, fear of making a mistake. Example: an employee who knows the answer but doesn't speak up because they're afraid of what others will think. Fluctuating self-esteem changes depending on the situation. Example: a teenager is confident with friends but feels lost on stage at school. It's important to understand that no type is fixed. Our self-esteem changes and evolves. Causes of low self-esteem. Why do people lose self-confidence? Usually, several factors are involved: upbringing and childhood. Frequent critical comments from parents: "You could do better." Comparison with other children: "Why aren't you like your brother?" Lack of praise. Social environment. Toxic friends or partners who constantly criticize. Social and social media pressure. We see others' successes and think we're falling behind. Internal dialogue. We constantly criticize ourselves. "I'm a loser. I'm not good enough." We overestimate others' achievements and underestimate our own. Failures and trauma. Early failures in school or relationships leave scars. For example, a boy who was ridiculed as a child for getting bad grades may suffer a lifelong fear of public speaking. How low self-esteem affects life. Professional: avoiding challenging tasks and promotions. Fear of public speaking. Inability to ask for a raise or recognition. Relationships: suppressing one's own desires. Fear of abandonment. Attachment to toxic people. mental health, anxiety, depression, chronic stress, physical health, self-neglect, bad habits. Example, a guy I knew was always afraid to ask for a raise. When his project was successful, he thought, oh well, maybe they'll give me a little more. He was afraid of being rejected. Until he realized the value of his efforts, his career stalled. Signs of low self-esteem: constantly comparing yourself to others, fear of criticism or rejection, procrastination, feeling that you don't deserve to be happy, tendency toward perfectionism, colloquialism. If you constantly think that others are smarter, prettier, more successful, your self-esteem is probably low. How to develop healthy self-esteem. 1. Mindfulness and inner dialogue. Listen to your thoughts. What are you telling yourself? Write down the negative and replace it with something constructive. For example, I can't handle this. I can try, and this is an experience for me. 2. Self-acceptance. Don't strive for perfection. Acknowledge your strengths and weaknesses. For example, I'm not the fastest, but I'm attentive to detail. 3. Small victories. Gradually tackle tasks that cause anxiety. Every small victory builds confidence. 4. Focus on the effort, not just the result. Praise yourself for the process, not just the outcome. For example, I did my best, and I'm learning from it. 5. Social support. Surround yourself with people who support and inspire. Avoid toxic relationships. 6. Physical activity and body care. Sport improves mood and confidence. Sleep, nutrition, and personal hygiene all have an impact. How confidence helps in life: making decisions and taking risks. Building healthy relationships is easier, increasing productivity and career success, reducing anxiety. Example, Jane was afraid of public speaking. She started with 5-minute presentations in front of colleagues. A year later, she became a conference speaker, and her confidence spread to all areas. Scientific approaches to building confidence. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, changes thoughts, leads to changes behavior, leads to changes self-perception. Visualization, imagine yourself succeeding in a situation. Small steps gradually increase the difficulty of tasks. Real-life examples. Oprah Winfrey, a poor childhood, abuse, and humiliation, but self-confidence led to success. Steve Jobs, being fired from his own company didn't break him because he believed in his ideas. Practical exercises for 15 minutes a day. 1. Write down your achievements. 3 things you're proud of. 2. Track negativity. Replace I can't with I'll try. 3. Visualize success. 5 minutes in front of the mirror. 4. Take action against fear. Take at least one step that scares you. Self-esteem and confidence aren't innate qualities. They can be developed throughout life. Become aware of your inner dialogue. Accept your strengths and weaknesses. Take small steps. Surround yourself with support. Take care of your body and mind. Gradually, your inner confidence will become natural, and your life will become more joyful, productive, and fulfilling.